Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today's episode, I think you're going to like this one a lot. Did you know 92% of business owners can uncover more profit in their business today, and 64% of all stats are made up? I'll let you figure out which one of those was made up, but both of them. But no, seriously, all small business owners, I would assume, have the ability to make more money doing what they're already doing. And this is a fascinating topic. I have a very special guest, Ann Carden. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Hello, Brandon. Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here and share. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to dive in. What do you think about the made-up stat of 92%, though? I mean, that kind of seems right if you think about it.
I actually think it's probably higher than that. I have yet to find a business that couldn't increase their profitability yet, and I've been doing this 15 years.
100% of small business. I like it.
I would say there are always things. No business is perfect, which means there's always room for optimization and maximizing what you're doing. 100%.
Yeah, I think those are two separate conversations too, because when we think about, optimizing efficiency, of course, there are things we can do there. But I think you're talking about an even simpler way to uncover more profit in your business. And it doesn't involve any of that. So tell me from your experience, what are some of these quicker ways to uncover profits in our business for what we're already doing?
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many ways. So one of the things that I see people leaving a lot of money on the table in their business because they are often giving away a lot of things that they could be charging for. So if you think about, maybe you are a marketing agency, for example, and you give away strategy. That's something that is, you give away strategy so you can bring in a client, so you can get client acquisition. But the strategy is, quite honestly, the most valuable thing you are actually selling. They can go out and they can get other services. They can get marketing services. What they can't get from other people is your brilliance and your genius. And so you could be charging big dollars for that. Like, people will pay for that value. And I help people do this in their business. They're giving away all of that. And yet they could go out and be selling that for $50,000, $75,000. So that's one way that they could be leveraging what they're already doing and giving away and making more money. And it goes right to your bottom line. There's no cost typically to be able to do that.
Yeah, right. You're already doing it. So it's just, it's added profit. The thing that comes up for me, though, I guess, Costco is the most famous example, right? I understand what the marketing agency is doing. They're giving you a sample so that you want to come in and buy the product. Costco does the same thing with their little crackers at the end of the aisle. Right. And some people make full meals out of Saturday Costco trips. We know those people exist, but other people do go and actually buy the product. If not that one, there's the psychological principle of reciprocity. They don't buy that product, but they buy some other product because subconsciously they feel like they owe Costco that money. How do we balance those two principles with the charging for our services?
Yeah, so I think what you're saying makes sense, right? You're talking about almost like a loss leader, or, a loss lead, some kind of lead generation system. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about, everybody's going to do a call with someone, probably, to onboard them and bring them in as a client. What I'm talking about, though, is they're interested in working with you, and now you're not charging for the whole strategic side of things. And this should actually be a really good story for you to really validate what I'm saying. I had a client, had a social media agency, and they were doing social media services and content creation and that kind of thing for a company. And she said, I know that I have so much more to offer, and I would like to add a consulting arm. She actually was a guest on her podcast, and that's how we met. And she said, I would like to add a consulting arm. And so we put together a consulting package for her. And when she went back to the client, someone she was already working with, making a few $1,000s a month, she showed them some gaps that they had. And she was also not able to get the best results for them because they were missing this piece, even though it wasn't really what she was doing it for free with them, but she wasn't selling it. So she went back and she made them this consulting offer for $50,000, and they said yes. And so that was 50 grand right there, that she actually, it was like 52, that they said yes to. When she got in there, here was the great thing. She got in there and started working with them, and they said, we didn't even know you could do all this. And it turned into a $413,000 annual sale. So when you're giving away things because you think it's not that valuable, or it's just what we do, or we want to bring this person on as a client, you might be missing the bigger opportunity. And so but this has happened in many of my clients' businesses. They gave away the thing to try to get the client, and they didn't realize that the real money, the real value, even if they didn't bring that client on, the real value was their expertise.
That's so interesting, because I would think in that scenario, most people would be of the mindset that, um, I'm doing this because I don't think about it. I'm already doing it. It's easy for me. And
Mm-hmm.
if I charge my clients more, maybe they'll walk away. It sounds like that's not often the case. It's seen as an added value to the client because they're paying
Yes.
for it. Is that true?
100%. And actually, they will view you as more of an expert if you're
Mhm.
charging for things that you have built brilliance around. People take for granted all the years of experience and expertise and knowledge and skills that they built up. And so they look at that and say, well, it's just part of what we do. But to the client, that's really where the gold is. It's not about the stuff you're doing for them. It's not about building the funnel or putting in, the right marketing, whatever. And that's just an example, right? It's not about the stuff you're doing with them. Where the real value comes from, the real expertise, is all of that knowledge and experience and brilliance that you have spent a long time building up. That's what they're not getting out there in the marketplace. That's where they're not finding people that are experts. So then price becomes an object. But if you can, from the very beginning, show people this, really the value that you can bring to them, and you're charging for that versus just giving that away like everyone else, you're already going to be putting yourself at the top of your industry, at the top of your niche. And it's just something people are really afraid to do. It's all in how you create the sales process and that sales conversation. Of course, there's some moving parts to this, but it's something a lot of people don't even think about doing. So that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm also thinking, that's a great example, but you go into companies and you help them identify where some of these hidden opportunities could be. What else
Mhm.
are you looking for, whether it's service-based, business, product-based? I don't know if you work with a mix of people, but what are some of those key markers that there's a profit to be had?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different areas you can look at. So when I did this for a lot of years with small businesses, I would go in and we would look at here's another example talking about what you could charge for that you don't. So years ago, this was, I don't know, 15 years ago, I worked with a plumbing company, and they were using service calls as a loss lead. Okay, if we go out and we do a service call and we give this to people free, we're going to get more calls, but every call that they went on was costing them 25 and $30. And all the money that they were leaving on the table by not charging. Now, again, this was 15 years ago. But one of the things that we did was we put a service call fee in place, and that was refunded back to the client or the customer if they decided to hire that company once they came out. If they didn't, they just paid for the service call and moved on. And what they got was more serious people. They got people that were more serious, had the money, and so they got better customers. So that's another example. But there are a lot of other places that I can look at too. What is your close ratio for sales? Are you upselling? That's another thing. You're already in front of a client. Are you upselling? them? Is there something else they need that you could be selling to them, and it's not taking you any more effort or work? You're already in front of them. Going back even to clients that you've worked with in the past, what else do you have that they might need? And so these things sound basic, but believe it or not, they're really missed in a lot of businesses. So being able to close more sales, you've already spent the money trying to get, the marketing done, right? And generating leads. Why let those leads fall through the cracks? So that's another area. A lot of times people haven't even leveraged their pricing. They haven't raised their prices in a very, very long time. They haven't shifted anything. Just that alone, I mean, think about it. You increase your prices by even 10%, which is so minimal. It's not going to be enough that it's going to make a difference in most cases to the customer, but that's at 10% to your 10% more to your bottom line. So it's all of those things. Upsells, price increases, charging for things you were not charging for, those increasing your sales, closing, those are some of the main areas. And then also your marketing. Can you get a better ROI on your marketing? Can you do a better job in your marketing so you're not burning up as much money or spending as much money? So those are 5 areas right there that any business can look at and say, where can we do a better job here?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your take too on the raising prices one, because that's one that I get pushback on all the time from clients.
Mm,
There's
mhm.
some mental emotional block around charging more for their service, or charging more for their value. I don't know what it is, but that seems to be a sticking point for most people. How do you approach that conversation and help people understand that they're doing themselves, but also their clients a service in the end?
Mm. Well, first of all, I help people raise their prices by 3 to 10 times, sometimes 20 times. That is what I do in my business as a big part of driving revenue. And there is a mental block sometimes, but here's what happens. It's because they don't fully understand the value that they bring to the market. So they don't understand what this is worth to the market. So have to walk them through that process. The second piece of that is if they've had pushback on their pricing before, or they feel like they would lose clients, they're going after the wrong people. And this is not maybe for someone new, but if you have expertise, if you really know what you deliver, you know the results that you can get people, and you truly are good at what you do, you should be charging more than everyone else. A lot of people they'll look around at the market and they say, well, this is what everybody's charging, so this is what I'm going to charge. Why not play out of the shark infested waters and be in the blue ocean and go after the top 20% or 30% of a market and a niche? And that alone you can raise your prices. If you are getting pushback, you don't have strong marketing, you don't have strong positioning, your offers are not dialed in. These are all areas that can be fixed. But then the other piece of it is sometimes they just don't really understand the market. A good example of this is I remember the first time 15 years ago, I heard my very first coach that I hired say, if you don't have a $50,000 offer, you can't sell it. And I thought, $50,000, are you kidding me? Like, who would buy that, right? I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't understand it. I had no idea. Years later, I'd be helping people do this all day long. And so if you don't really understand the value and you don't really, you're not exposed to that, obviously you won't do it. But when when I walk my clients through that process and they go out and close a big sale, they come back and they say, I could have probably doubled that. I could have made a lot more. It's all in how you're putting the pieces together.
Yeah, that's so funny too, because it's so obvious, right? If you don't have a product for sale, no one can buy it. Like, duh,
Mm,
of course.
mhm,
But we don't think about that. I love the blue ocean analogy too, and I'm also thinking, is it enough to put yourself in a blue ocean if, for example, so on this show, a lot of people come on, and almost 300 at this point, and they have a book, they have a diagnostic, a quiz, a PDF, an ebook, whatever it is it blue ocean enough in context of this conversation to just be charging for that thing? We talked about before the marketing
mm,
agency that gives away the strategy session. People do free strategy sessions on this show. Is
mhm.
that enough to even put yourself in a blue ocean? Or is there even, obviously there's more, but are you talking about even more?
Yeah, I think it's even more. As far as like, a lead generation, giving away an ebook or giving away a training of some kind or whatever, that's one way, obviously, to generate leads. But again, let's just think about this for a minute, Brandon. People don't really value free so much.
No.
Let's just face it, they really don't. However, if you're going after, you really have to know how people will come to you, and it's not cookie cutter, right? A high level CEO is going to respond to something different. Like they're never going to buy a $7 book and go through a funnel and all that, right? They're not going to do that. Versus a coach is going to be looking for free stuff, and they're looking for ways to grow their business and do things like that. So there's not a one size fits all approach, but I think that you have to understand what is going to work in your market. And as far as the question that you had, is that enough? It's positioning. You really have to be positioned as premium. Here's a good metaphor that I use a lot. Are you the Lamborghini? If I say Lamborghini, Brandon, if you close your eyes and I said Lamborghini, what comes to your mind? Ooh, yeah. I mean, we know what comes to your mind, right? But
Yep.
if I say cheap used car, what comes, like, there's a visual, right? There's a
It's a
visual to
different
that.
picture. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So when you are when you truly are good at what you do and you're wanting to play in that premium market, in that expert market, so to speak, you can't just be that person. You also have to look like you are that person. And that comes down to a lot of things, everything you're doing. How are you building influence in the market? If I go out and Google you, what will I see? Will I see congruency, consistency in what it is you say you're an expert at doing? Will I see social proof? It's all of it that comes into play. And a lot of people try to be an expert, but I can go Google them and I'm like, not really seeing that, right? And so what it does basically is it lowers their credibility. It doesn't raise their credibility. But we're in a, oh my gosh, the tools and the resources that we have today that, I didn't have 33 years ago building businesses. It can really help small people play at a top level with big companies, because we have so many resources and tools available. What you really need is a great strategy behind what you're doing so that you can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So,
Absolutely. I love this. I mean, look at this right here. This is one of those tools, right?
yeah.
Podcast, guest appearances, blog,
Hmm.
interview, whatever it may be. The tools are uh, infinite.
Endless.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um, and I love this conversation. It's a unique take on something that, like you said, it's right under your nose, right? All
Hmm.
business owners, we can make these tiny little tweaks and add more to our bottom line. And how much easier
Yeah.
is that than having to worry about go making more sales or getting more leads? It's
Yeah.
potentially
Yeah.
right under your nose.
Yeah. I mean, I believe everybody can have something that's premium that they can sell. And I teach people a top down approach. So you're going to position yourself for the high thing. You're going to position yourself for the best clients. You're going to position yourself to sell your biggest offer. And then everything else, it doesn't mean that's all you have. Everything else can be a downsell. Do you know how much easier it is to downsell people, Brandon, than it is to upsell people? It is way easier. Okay, you can't buy my $100,000 thing. Guess what? I have this, or I have this. And so that's the way I teach my clients to build. I help them back build, and not a lot of people start low and then, oh, let's start down here and then let's, ascend people. I teach the opposite approach. But you have to get positioned that way so that you do look like the Lamborghini. So when people come to you, they know you're not the cheapest thing around, and they know that you are but they also have this perception that you're probably the best. Best quote I ever heard: if you're the cheapest, you're not going to be the best, and if you're the best, people would not expect you to be the cheapest. And I think that's such a
Yep.
great, I don't even know where I heard that, but it's so true.
Well, I heard it here. Credit to you. And
I did not come up with that individually. I don't know where I heard it, but it's so true. It is just
yeah.
so true.
No, I love it. And this is fabulous. Where can the listener connect with you, learn more about you, and and see how you can help them grow their business.
Yeah, well, you can Google me. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have all kinds of stuff out there, but I have some free resources on my website. Or if you'd like to book a call because you like what I'm talking about, you would love to do something like this, go to acarden.com and just book a call with me, book a strategy call. We'll get on there. We'll see what your opportunities are and talk about how we can work together.
I love it. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, first and foremost, all of the links, every way to connect with Ann down in the show notes and description below. And subscribe, hit that red button, please, so we can have you back tomorrow on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch. We love putting these episodes out 5 days a week so we can help you build a more harmonious business and life. We'll see you tomorrow.